Alrighty, folks. Today we're going to spend a little bit of time taking a look at the Sushi Swapped Project's MasterChef contract because this is basically what sort of facilitates a lot of your concepts around and how Sushi Swap was able to do what they do. And as it turns out, a lot of tokens nowadays, it seems, are using the MasterChef concepts directly. And so we're going to start taking a look at the MasterChef Celerity file. And there's a link down in the doobly doo below that will help you take a look at this in real time with me if you are so motivated. But effectively, what this is saying, we're going to pin to a specific version of Celerity, and then we're going to import a bunch of other um, contracts that already exist that give you some of the features and functions that a typical contract's going to want to have. But then this is what turned into be the most, um, let's say, controversial portion of the sushi swap concept is the migrate function. Um, so this has allowed a few attack vectors to come up in play, but the initial attack vector that people didn't fully understand was this was how Sushi Swap was able to vampire attack Pancake Swap. So most of your integrations now with I'm not sure if Safe Moon does it specifically. I almost said Safe Moon, but I know most of your tokens that do liquidity and stuff have taken a lot of the concepts from MasterChef, but they end up removing this migrator chef functionality and then just explain to people what they need to do in a manual step versus having the contract do it. And that was the thing. This migrate concept and the resulting interface to implement it was the controversy that surrounded Sushi Swap there. But as we go on, this is going to turn into, and then you'll notice if you start looking at other contracts, you will see that they just simply change the word sushi a lot of times. Um, uh, and that, by these comments right here, you'll be able to tell if it's a Master Chef clone. They just change the wording but leave this type of comment. That's a key sign right away that it is a Master Chef clone. And then they can see here Safe Math and Safe ERC20. Those are coming in from up above. So that's how they pull that in. And then again, the MasterChef contract isn't ownable, and that's a type again that is a type of contract that they're bringing in. So this is using what is called inheritance. So it's MasterChef is inheriting traits, if you will, of an ownable contract. And then we're adding our own stuff here, basically what's going on. And then as you can see, here's the info on each pool that MasterChef is going to be control over. So you can tell that for each pool, there's also a user info, and all of these are details that gets defined by the contract and set up for like a given sushi swap or sushi swap clone, if you will. But there is a user info of structure of data, a pool structure of data, and then they create the actual token, assign a development address, and these are public variables that we can read on the contract, and then maybe the owner can change. We'll find out later. But basically, the bonus multiplier. So this was a bonus multiplier they added in, like it says, for uh, early makers. But there's also just a regular block. So they were given an extra bonus for early people, and then they gave the end block as well. So the reason why people would do this is you get new sushi tokens for however many blocks that this contract was stated. And again, since it's a settable value here, it could be changed. We'll find out later. So yeah, this is all just setting up some values and whatnot. Like here's a mapping of the here's a mapping of the pools it's gonna Sushi Swap's gonna have. So here's an array and a mapping of it, and then the total allocation points, even spelled incorrectly in the comment, um, all that good stuff. So that's another vector you could search for other contracts that are similar to sushi right there. Um, and then the block number when it starts, and then here's some events that get thrown on the contract itself when actions below happen. And then the constructor, this is like the function that gets called when this contract is actually minted or created by the system. So it sets up some of your default stuff to make it work right. And then now we get into a few functions. Um, this gives you a function to see how many pools they are to figure out the next UID, basically, is what that's used for. And then, yeah, see here, rewards will only messed up if you do. So they even add a little extra commentary in here. So if you wanted to add an extra pool, you have to add it this way, and pass in. So anytime, and then it'll say here, I bet somewhere, function add public only owner. And so that is a function that is public. Everybody can read that function, see that that function exists, and go to the right tab in a BSC scan situation, and or ETH scan situation in the original sushi, of course. But find that function, and you could attempt to write to it, but the public only owner only allows the owner of this particular contract to run that function. So that's a key thing. And this is one of the attack vectors you got to watch out for in unknown contracts, is make sure that transfer or sell or unclaim or something weird is not set up to only owner and nobody notices it, because then only the owner can get money out. Everyone can put money in, only the owner can get it out. So you got to watch for that. That's a very common attack vector that I've been told about. And then if it's the owner, only if it's the owner, execute this next bit of code, where basically you figure out the rewards. So this is now a good time to explain the concept of block rewards and math and persistence of functions. So in a blockchain world, there's no way to persist a function or to hold on to something for the next iteration of the contract. So you've got to be a little unique in your thought process of how to do things over time. And that's what this is defining right here. So it's figuring out, hey, give me a big number of the last reward block that we did this particular reward process in, which every block, every 3 seconds, basically, um, something's going on, but we're not interacting. Nobody's always interacting with our contracts, and so basically we have to figure out when this add function called again. This only executes on the owner when they call for a new LP pool. So this is a new, let's say, DAI USDT, or you know shitcoin slash not shitcoin pairing, if you will. So Bunny versus BNB, or whatever your pool you're gonna add for this MasterChef contract. This is what this function does. So it figures out, hey, when was the last time I rewarded a block, and it figures it all out here, and then figures out what the allocation point is, um, and adds it. Figures does an addition function here to get the right value, and then pushes all of that information, token, and the allocation point, and the last reward block. So boom. So now we know that when this transaction goes in, that's the last reward block. Boom. Because now we've updated it, and that's what it is. And then it starts out at 0 here for some reason. So the accrued sushi per share starts out at 0. But then if you look at the very next function, again, only called by owner, can then set that sushi point here, which is this here, accumulated, which is the alloc point here. So you have an add function that adds it, and they somehow have to set it for 0 here, so because they want these to be in two different transactions, I guess, for whatever reasons we won't get into. You set you create the pool, then you immediately call the set function. Again, only the owner can do this. We'll set the allocation point, and it does the math and shit for you. And then again, this is the migrator contract. A lot of this is pulled out of your non MasterChef contract. So your clones, like your other yield swap sites and whatnot. I don't want to call out a specific one directly to not out anybody if I'm not certain that they are directly a or didn't do their own magic to the MasterChef. But the general consensus seems to be a lot of these clones that are out there take this particular set of functions out for whatever reasons that it makes it basically um, this is where you're literally minting new tokens away from pancake swap and putting them on sushi swap, and then you're then now trading on sushi swap to do all this. But I don't think maybe many people really understood what the migrate was. You just saw the extra rewards that you got if you did it, but you may not have fully understood what they're doing. So we won't get into too much details on the migrate process because that now is done otherwise. And then a lot of times, most of these places end up just leaving the trading happening on PancakeSwap instead of launching their own AMM. Um, and then here, this is again a function used to so you can get the multiplier over time because again you can't do math with an existing variable or whatnot, like a long running function or a scoped variable that's global somewhere. There's nothing like that. So we have to figure out the reward multiplier from and to blocks based on when contract interactions happen. So that's how get multiplier gets used internally. That's a lot of the internal functions we're getting to now. And then the view function to see the pending sushis. Basically, that's how you can look to see what you may get when you decide to claim your sushis. And then this mass update pools, again, that's when, yeah, see, mass update is when you really, really, really want to update every pool. You do that function, and I don't know why you would want to update every pool. So again, if somebody figures that out, I will update or have more information on a future stream or future resource. And then if we look at this update pool, this gets called basically anytime anybody interacts with, because if we see deposit, there's an update pool, and if there's a withdrawal, there's also an update pool because you got to know your situation there. So we'll loop back up to where the update pool was at. Yeah, so this update pool function now is the math over time. That anytime there's an interaction going on, um, this, deposit, withdrawal, mint, blah, 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 whatever it does, um, this is that function. So you can see the get multiplier gets called and the minting of all the crazy stuff. And, we don't need to get into too in depth here, but this figures out the rewards everybody gets and then distributes that reward accordingly um, as defined here, and that's what it is here. So when someone deposits LP tokens to get their sushi allocation, you know, not only does that happen, but you got to update the pool at the same time. So that's a good thing there. That allows you to do the right math over time, and then it does the safe transfer, all the good stuff to actually send your LP tokens into MasterChef, and then MasterChef then mints you your deposit type thing. When it does the update pool, you get your mints here. Yeah, see. And then the opposite happens when you withdraw, basically. So you're taking your sushi your LP tokens back from MasterChef. And again, you can see here, this is public, not from owner. And that's one of the attack vectors you got to really watch for on new contracts is watch for the only owner nonsense being slid in there. And and then the emergency withdrawal situation is a function they added to in case, let's say, a GUI is down or being DDoSed or for whatever reasons decides to go down and you don't want to really go through the rest of the nonsense to get your shit back. This emergency withdrawal just fires everything back without to you without caring about rewards like it says. It doesn't claim you any rewards or nothing. It just gets you back your input in the case of an emergency type thing. And then the safe transfer was used above, yeah, to get rid of basically rounding errors, yeah. And then they have a function. Um, Yeah, so then this function allows the dev to change the dev address. So basically, the existing dev has to fire this off. So it's not only owner. They have a require function here to say, hey, you need to be the existing dev to change to a new dev. So if a new dev wants to get involved, that's how it happened. But a lot of times, the new dev would end up being like a governance most of the time. But there you go, folks. Top to bottom look of the MasterChef contract for Sushi Swap. There is a method to my madness here. I am very slowly behind the scenes getting up to speed on celerity and getting things organized as it makes sense to organize a potential project offering or a coin of some sort. And I figured a good start would be to look at the Master Chef and to bring you guys along and to just kind of walk this out myself so I have a little better understanding in my head and all that good stuff. And that so I can go on and potentially build something of value to this community I've created here. So, alrighty, folks, I am going to get on out of here on this gorgeous Saturday afternoon, early evening, I guess, by now, and try to enjoy a little bit of the outdoor radiant situation. And that is company showing up, it looks like. So I will get out of here and I will catch you in that next video, folks.